everybody hates CRMs. And why is that? Because none of them really helps you sell. And if you want them to help you sell, you have a whole lot of work filling them out.
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a guest on, and this is a part of every business as you're thinking about scaling that you should really consider, and it's a CRM system. Now, what I liked about when I connected with him on LinkedIn is he talked about making CRM human, because a lot of times, CRM systems, people are using them to where people just become a number in their system. But when you start to humanize it and you start to bring it back, that's where your business can be more effective. So I want to welcome to the show, Jeroen Corthout. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Now, before we jump into, the details of your business, can you tell us a little bit about your background before starting this business?
So my background before starting this business is quite varied. I studied engineering, ended up specializing in biomedical things, so biomedical engineering. I did business school, then I ended up working as in marketing in a pharma company, combining these two things. Then I actually switched to one of my former loves, was building websites, more or less because I went into a consultancy that helped pharma companies to go digital in all aspects. Then I had a series of different projects, which you can hardly describe as startups because they all failed very early. And then Salesflare, well, there was some stuff in between, but
Gotcha. One of the things that I always find interesting is, successful entrepreneurs have this tendency of, like, even when they've started an idea and it doesn't do well, it's like they don't give up. They come back, they learn from that. What was it that kind of fueled you to keep trying new things?
Oh, I always wanted, let's say I started getting sort of the feel for running my own business when I was 15, 16 or so. I was building websites. And I felt like, wow, I'm really creating stuff here, and I'm doing something nice for other people. I'm getting rewarded for it. So that was such a great experience that from then on, I sort of knew that I wanted to have my own business one day. Then I went studying engineering because I had to study something, right? And I was always raised to study engineering. My dad is sort of a hardcore engineer. Always used to lead research organizations, mostly at a company called Philips. And from there on, well, I'm going to skip a lot of stuff. I forgot the question now. What keeps me going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just really like building stuff. And in a big company, it's very hard to build something because everybody sort of decides for you what you have to do, and you can't really build up something big. And if you're a consultant, you're often making nice stuff, but it's quick. Like you do a project for a customer, you cannot put your whole heart in it, because if the customer is happy, then it's good, right? You don't have to go further than that. Also, it would be stupid because you only get paid for a certain amount. So in all these places, like I used to work in a corporate called Baxter. It's a huge US farm company. And then I worked in consulting for a while. I never really felt complete. There was always something missing. And it's just now that I'm running Salesflare for the past almost 7 years. It's really like we're always building up things. Like we're building up a product, we're building up a customer base. Customers are happy with the product. We're building up a team that make sure that product is there and that the customers are happy. We're building up marketing and traffic. We're building up a brand. It's really nice to be able to work on something and see it grow. And I think that's sort of what keeps me going here.
Awesome. So with an experience of trying so many different things and working in so many different areas and adjusting, what was it about, CRMs that really attracted your attention to say, hey, this is what we want to spend our time on next?
Yeah. So people usually say like, oh, CRM, that's sort of a dumb idea to focus on that because there's already so many. But I just felt they were broken. Like everybody hates CRMs, and why is that? Because none of them really helps you sell, and if you want them to help you sell, you have a whole lot of work filling them out. And nobody can keep up with the amount of work that these CRMs expect you to do. So you always sort of fail, and the system falls apart, and customers are unhappy, and all the so you try to get a CRM to set up some system for you to sell more consistently, to have happy customers, to sell more, but it just never works. And well, what we saw is that a lot of that is because one, there's a lot of data input needed. And two, because systems are often, they have somehow switched at some point from their basic purpose of helping you do your sales follow-up to something that does all kinds of other stuff, but nothing really, and is sold to management rather than to people who actually use it. And it's these two things together that made us start Salesflare, because at some point we saw like, hey, we can actually change this, because this data input we figured is not really needed, because a lot of the data input we saw that you do in a CRM system is actually stuff like data that is already in another system. So it's dumb that you go in one system and send an email and then go into CRM and log that you sent an email, or same with meetings. That's in your calendar, calls, those are in your phone or your phone system, whatever. And then you have some email tracking tool that is separate, and some web tracking thing that is separate. And there's stuff in company databases that people sometimes import, but you can actually call it through an API, right? You can just pull it from somewhere. And we figured that if we just build a system that pulls up all of these things automatically for you, then that would be an awesome system. So even if it was in the CRM space, we just figured we could make a difference, and we went for that. And we're still sort of working on that mission, but a bit further now as well. So because we automated the essence of the CRM, sort of that data tracking, we can now also build on that. So you can filter through your data in all kinds of ways, but you can also like build triggers on that, or use it to build audiences that then get automated emails. It starts becoming more than just the data automation. It becomes real sales automation.
Gotcha. Now that makes a lot of sense, because I would say my background is accounting and finance, but I learned a lot more about CRMs with a tech company that I work with, and I work with the sales team a lot. And, when I saw the amount of work that went into the CRM, where we literally had to hire someone to be the CRM manager, to where that person had to make sure everybody was inputting the data. And if people didn't input the data properly, when you'd run reports, it's just like, this data doesn't tell us anything. Like, how are we going to make decisions? So I think being able to have that more automated actually, like I said, makes your CRM more useful.
Yeah, but if you need someone to manage your CRM, then one, the CRM becomes extremely expensive because you add a salary to the cost of the CRM. Secondly, a lot of people using it are now probably not only half-assing it, like they're not really filling it out, or it doesn't really help them. And a lot of it starts becoming focused on making sure that management is happy with the results, but it's not really a practical tool that helps anyone that uses the system, like the end users. And a lot of people were sort of happy with that situation. Also, when in 2014, when we started and we did customer interviews, I would do a lot of those, and people were like, yeah, well, that's the way it is. You cannot expect these systems to become better. And I was like, why not? Well, it's actually the salespeople's fault. They're lazy. You just force them, take away their bonus, have an assistant do some stuff. But nobody ever thought that there was improvement possible in software. People seem to have given up. I'm sure nowadays, like CRMs go forward much quicker, and there's a sort of a revived believe that it can be better, but back then it was really, really awful.
Gotcha. So how can people get in touch with, with your company if they want to see a demo or if they want to do business with you? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you, and how can they find you on social media or online?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Salesflare, it's on salesflare.com, and Flare is with Flare, so salesflare.com. There you can read about the software, you can see the software, you can actually try it. There's a free trial. There's anywhere between 7 and 30 days. As you set up the software, we give you extra days on the trial, because we've seen that people who set it up more than others during the trial actually are more successful with the system also in the very long run, and in the short term as well. You can also, if you don't like using a system, you can also book a demo. We just added a few weeks ago, we added a button there, which makes that you get a call with us. And well, we're on all the social media with the Salesflare. And if you want to get in touch with me, just type my name into LinkedIn. There's only one person with my name. But when you connect with me, please add a personal message, because otherwise you will disappear in a sea of spam, and that's not what you want.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up the interview, one of the things that I always like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about, your journey with entrepreneurship and running your business, what's two pieces of advice that you would share with other business owners?
Oh, there's a lot of pieces of advice, but if I share only two, do I focus on people who are just getting started, or people who are slightly more further along? Because problems change, obviously. And
Yeah, what I would say is, since you've been, running your business for some time, I would say let's focus on the people who are a little further along.
yeah, a little further along. Okay. Advice number one, I think, where people are slightly further along, but not really far along, still have issues with, is very often hiring. Hiring decisions are some of the ones you can have wrong the most, and it has the most effect on the company, I would say. So take them seriously. We're still working on it ourselves, on how we approach it, but we're trying to do things like a little project working together, not always easy in every role, but try to have something like that. I always try, but that's because it's very important for us as a company, to have some written text from them to see when that they can actually write. It's extremely important for us because a lot of things are written, especially nowadays when we're working remotely, but otherwise as well. We write a lot of stuff, and if it's not clear, then it's just horrible. Then background checks, something I didn't do in the past sometimes, and I regret that a lot. So 2 to 3 background checks. Really ask hard questions to these people that they recommended, and make sure that they become honest, because you always give people that like you, right? So it's always a bit biased. Yeah, what we also started doing is involving multiple people in the team in hiring decisions, not just one person or 2 people. That just makes sure that there is a sort of an extra check, and we're also much sure about the culture fit. But the culture fit also partly comes from like shortly working together on some small project. With developers, you can ask them to develop something. That's not too difficult. For other people, it might, you need to come up with something, but that you can sort of feel the collaboration, because otherwise it might be they hire someone, and then the first day they come in and you immediately feel that it's not working. But in the meantime, you hire them, right? And if you want to fire someone, then again, in many countries, it's not too easy, and it comes with a lot of emotional stress as well, obviously.
Gotcha.
That's advice number one. Make sure you always have cash for the next 6 months. It's very basic advice, but it's easily forgotten, and it can get you into trouble. Always think ahead financially, plan things out, make sure you never run out of cash, because when you start a business, you raise some cash, You make some plans, and then things take longer. They always do, and it always takes more money and more time. Um, so you will always have to adapt, and you'll have to find some cash somewhere or change some plans. Or so make sure to always think at least 6 months ahead there, because many things take that amount of time to make sure that your business just continues as usual.
Absolutely. Well, Jeroen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story of your business, your background, and the advice that you share. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.